A time lapse over the last decade, the map is getting more and more Christmas lights on it. White space is shrinking, right? Essentially.
Yes.
Where do you see the opportunities going forward? I mean, with interest rates as high as they are, groups that buy with bank debt may be a little bit, squeeze a little bit more, and there could be some interesting opportunities in the secondary market for all cash buyers like yourselves. That's just one thing I see, whether it be gas, a little bit more of a distressed environment like Haynesville buyers who bought last year, or just in general, 9%, 10% debt is expensive for minerals, right? So
Yes.
the leash is shorter. But where do you guys see opportunities going forward for buying going forward?
That's a useful observation that we have as well, is that the white space in the Permian is shrinking and it's going away. And we think that we can't continue to produce more oil than we did the year before forever. And as we're seeing these white spaces disappear, we think that we're getting closer and closer to the Permian start to decline in their daily volumes, which will have tremendous impact on the supply side of oil globally. But in the meantime, we put tremendous value on those white spaces that have been undisturbed. We have 10 years of learning and technology improvements from when we first started coming into the Wolfcamp and drilling horizontally. And so these remaining untouched virgin 1280s are just, they hold a tremendous amount of value. Now, you're going to pay for that value, even though there's no line of sight to drilling. It's HBP'd. It's, there's no obligation to drill new wells. Everybody knows that it's going to get drilled in the next 3 to 5 years, because where else are you going to drill? It's economically motivated to the operator to do so. And so you're not taking as much risk when you're buying these HBP white space deals, because there's not as many up and left. And that's reflected in the price. And even if you are a private equity backed sponsor group that has a 8% pref, I mean, it's less and less scary to buy those deals than it was 3 or 4 years ago. So we're seeing more competition on those for sure. And one of the reasons we wanted to have a adaptable structure was to remain as competitive as we can as we see this market change over the next 2 to 3 years.
No, absolutely. Do you see the tier one boundaries being pushed out a bit with technology? Are the lines chalk that can be erased, or are they permanent marker?
Yeah, I would say in the Midland, we've seen the tier one kind of grow a little bit for sure. And maybe more specifically, we've seen tier three become solid tier two. I think that the boundaries north and east have been pushed in a positive way over the last 2 to 3 years. And we've seen areas that previously were thought risky and 4 wells a section type area become definitively 16 wells a section. And so I think we're seeing more tier three develop into tier two than more tier one come on the market. But also the tier two acreage is starting to be able to justify more tier one type assumptions, whereas because there's just less of it altogether, and a lot of operators have tier two left. And if an operator is focused on the area, you can pay a lot more. So it is changing. It's always changing. But I do think that largely we understand where the meat of the Permian is, and you can't change that a whole lot from here, I don't think.